Well, we haven't been on in, what is it, 3 weeks? It's been a while since you've listened to the Twinbill podcast, brought to you by NyynewsTV. I'm your host, Alex Guyvich Prodich, and Luca is alongside me. With that being said, we haven't spoken to you guys in a few weeks, as mentioned, and Yankee baseball has happened. 3 weeks of it, I think. About 3 weeks. So, a lot of stuff to get into. Positives, negatives, concerns with the team, some not concerns with the team, some very good strong points with this team so far. They
Which is
just
not
won
many.
against the Tigers a few hours ago. Now, let me say this before we go into things and I give Luca the floor and stuff like that. We didn't watch the game. We were out with family, so that is a game we missed. But a lot of people have given us insight on what actually happened during the game. So it's not like we're talking out of our ass. But before I hand it over to Luca for first thoughts and everything else, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that post notification bell so you know when a live stream possibly drops. Yes, I do that for my channel, but obviously you could do it for NyynewsTV as well. Buy some of our merch, 5-star on Apple Podcasts. We would appreciate that. And every podcast really on this network would appreciate that. So please do that. We're going to keep it real with you all season. And listen, I think, not to toot our own horn here, but I think we've been starting to set some trends because you take a look early in the season, we've been saying some things here at NyynewsTV. Everyone else is picking up on it. I mean, Tommy Smokes was getting roasted on Twitter for saying some quote unquote controversial stuff. So, Luca, if you want to go ahead and just go into anything, start us out.
First couple of games, which were the first two games, were quite optimistic for the Yankees and myself. Ever since then, it's just been a downfall, kind of. I know we split the series against the Blue Jays, lost the series against the Orioles, and we won tonight, but we didn't win in a good fashion because Garrett Cole was absolute dog shit. And some people actually, everybody's going to be like, oh, well, we beat the Tigers and all that. But sometimes you got to keep track of how you win ball games. It's like going to the playoffs as the first seed, having one of the best defenses in the league, but your offense is absolute dog shit. So people got to start keeping track of how the Yankees are going to win this season. And will that consistency keep up? Obviously, we don't know. There's a ton of games to go, but from what I'm seeing, Alex, it's kind of mirrors last season. Gives kind of nightmares.
Yeah, and, as I said, we were given insight on how this game went about. And you mentioned last season how it's a possible continuation of last season. And I want to say this as well. This is, at least how the game went, not necessarily the greatest start because you lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore. I'm not forgetting that. Nobody's forgetting that. Listen, great. We beat Boston. We took 2 out of 3 there. We beat Toronto 2 out of 4. You split the series, which, to be honest with you, I'm unhappy about. Then you go to Baltimore, one of the worst offensive performances, one of the worst games in history. The first game, then second game we win. Did Sevy pitch that day or no? I'm trying to think. Maybe
no.
Sevy pitched the day of Vlad Guerrero.
He struck him out 3 times.
Okay, so we got to talk about Sevy. Sevy's had a real nice start to the season. But anyway, so you win game 2, and then you completely drop the ball in game 3 where Nestor Cortes is dealing. He is fucking dealing. And I've critiqued Nestor Cortes. I've said, look, this guy, he's great. He's a spitball pitcher, off speed, Rich Hill, just very much younger. However, I don't think he's a long-term starter. And we had a conversation on our podcast on the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel about whether Nestor Cortes could actually be a starter in a playoff game. We said no, but if he can put up more starts like that against actually good teams, we can change our philosophy of thinking. But unfortunately, Luca, that was not the subject matter. That wasn't the headline of what that game was. It was the Yankees' poor offense at it again. And it was very scary to see that our bullpen gave up a little bit of runs within that last inning, that couple at bats for the Orioles. And listen, people will say, and I know I'm reflecting a lot on the last game of the Orioles series because it's our last loss, but also, a lot of that has trickled in the first game of the Detroit series, excuse me. But Loizaga versus Odor, and Odor hits a 2-run single. And I know people are saying, no, you can't blame Boone. It's the Cashman construction of the roster. There you can blame Boone because Lidke was right there. He was warming up. And I believe, what was it, Luke? It was 2 outs and they had the bases loaded. So if Odor strikes out, he grounds out, he pops out against Lidke, you go to the 9th with a new sense of momentum, new sense of urgency. Okay, let's score some runs. I don't want to go to extras and then strike these guys out in the bottom half. So in terms of the way that series went, and I once again know that sometimes, it may or may not have much relevancy to it. I want you to give your thoughts overall.
Yeah, it just seems like these hitters are not going up to the plate with a plan whatsoever. It's just do whatever, swing for the fences, whatever, whether that's whether the philosophy has not changed or has changed with the Yankees. I don't believe it has in terms of hitting philosophy, what they want to do at the plate. You only have 4 or 5 or so good hitters in the lineup. Everybody else is dog shit. This is a lineup of 9 players. So the bottom of the order is absolutely terrible. Right now you don't have a solution at the catcher position. The shortstop position is horrible. Josh Donaldson's been a train wreck, and Joey Gallo's been an utter disaster. It's not the first time that we've seen that Gallo's been disaster. Last year he was a disaster as well, but people are like, oh, maybe there's hope for him this year. Going to first full season in pinstripes.
Can I say something right now?
Go ahead.
Okay, we're talking about Gallo, and we just obviously won against the Tigers, and they used a total of 8 bullpen pitchers just overall. I mean, Alexander only pitched an inning. Maybe they had a bullpen day of some sorts. Gallo struck out 4 fucking times in 4 at-bats. How can we defend this guy any longer, Luca?
No timely hitting. And Aaron Boone tried to gaslight the analytic nerds, saying, despite what the average says or what the statistics say, he's getting on base and he's driving balls. And everybody's coming up with these stats like, oh, he's driving this. He's hit with the amount of contact on these amount of balls that he's hitting line drives out of a good percentage of these. Nobody cares. It's the result of what happens. If Gallo lines out to an out, he lines into an out. There's no expected batting average. There's no expected batting average coming out of that. It's an out. The average is 0, 0, and 0. And I'm sick and tired of people like the Yes Network bringing up these stats. Oh, Joey Gallo's expected batting average is this. Joey Gallo's expected this is this. Nobody cares about expecteds. It's about what actually happens on the baseball field. And he's been utterly terrible. If I'm telling you right now, if the Yankees actually sign him to a contract at the end of the year, they put a contract right in front of him, I'm going to flip. Because they officially would sell their goods, and they would not be a serious organization. They'd be finished.
Yeah, I kind of want to bring up 2 things, and people rely on this expected batting average. Like, okay, expected batting average. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm going to tell you that right now. However, you look at Baseball Savant. I think it's the Baseball Savant page. Seiya Suzuki, at least right now, maybe I've not heard differently, but he's off to a very, very, very good start in Chicago with the hitting streak. But if you listen to everything that Baseball Savant tells you, or one of those analytic pages, I'm being dead serious when I say that they will tell you that Joey Gallo is a better hitter than Seiya Suzuki. And once again, I'll say this. A friend of mine a couple months ago said Joey Gallo is not worth playing. He is a bench player. I laughed in his face for saying that. For someone who didn't like Joey Gallo, the player he is, and when he came over and the impact he had, because he had no impact. He hit 13 home runs and 22 RBIs. Obviously, a lot of those RBIs are coming for homers. We all know that. But I said, do not see how he impacts on defense. The only time I could say he positively impact the defense is when he threw Jorge Mateo out at second, when Mateo, for some reason, decided to run on Joey Gallo. So you're already good defensively. You could put Stanton in left field for a game and have Hicks. Hicks has been hitting okay. I know that a lot of people were critical, including myself at the beginning of the season, but he's turned out to be, a decent player. And then you got Judge. But at this point, I would take Stanton, Hicks, and Judge over Joey Gallo, because Joey Gallo is, when you look at the stats and all this bullshit, but look at how it equates to wins and offensive production. Don't give me this shit, expected batting average and the savants and all that. Shut the fuck up. Stop. Because you clearly don't know if you're just referencing these advanced stats. You clearly have never played a game of baseball. You never picked up a fucking bat in your life. Okay? Yes, I have a bat with me, and I'll fucking hit you with it. But my point is, and let me bring this up as well. I know people are like, well, the front office, they acknowledge and they use the analytics. Well, guess what? I've heard many things about many different sports and subjects when it comes to this. Oh, whether it's about politics, whether it's about the Giants doing something, I'm going to bring my own team up, whether it's about the Knicks doing something, whether about the Yankees doing something, maybe for Lucas' case, whether it's about the Jets doing something. Don't question the front office. They know better than we do, and we're just fans and all. Time out. If the team is not playing up to expectations, or they're not playing well in general, in my personal opinion, you have a fucking right to question. Because guess what? Luca, what are you wearing on your head? You're wearing a Yankee hat. And you bought that. You invested in this team. We invest in our baseball teams, our football teams. Hell, sometimes, bringing politics in, we vote for our representatives or the president or this guy or that guy. And we expect fucking results. So if Joe Schmo runs for office locally in New York City and he's not doing his job, even though I voted for him, I will question him. What the fuck are you doing? Politicians, 99.9% of the time, don't know what the fuck they're doing. But referencing back to the sports world with the Yankees have not been a serious baseball team since Aaron Boone stepped in. I will not be afraid to say that. So, and then they brung him back on the contract. We all know that. And they basically ran it back this year with one major trade, which I don't know that they even fucking won. So people need to stop coming out here and saying, oh, it's, the front office knows better than we do. They value analytics more than we do. They know this stat and that's. Shut up, because you're being a hermit crab by sitting there and actually taking it. You're not fighting back. This is why Aaron Boone was brought back, because it seems like Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner had no issues, no regrets at all, because they wouldn't get too much flack from the fan base and they wouldn't get too much flack from the beat media. Now, I will say this. Michael Kay did say on his show on Tuesday that, the guys getting off after hot days is pretty much bullshit. He didn't say bullshit because you can't do that, FCC, whatever. So I said this. I didn't say that he wasn't right. This is something that we've been saying, different guys have been saying, but it's not been, totally out there, because obviously some people believe in this team. And listen, if you want to be optimistic, sure, but also admit, that this team has a lot of weaknesses. And that's why I say overall, listen, if you're going to compliment the bullpen, okay, listen, that's a good thing, right? You always want to be positive, but you have to acknowledge the negatives. Don't give me, oh, well, it's only been X amount of games and X amount of at-bats. If we can acknowledge that Aaron Hicks has been doing well so far, we can also acknowledge Joey Gallo has sucked so far. But going back to the Michael Kay comment, I said, I quote tweeted, by the way, shouts to Arby. He was actually tweeting this. I said, when Michael Kay questions the people that ask Aaron Boone the questions, then I will buy what he's selling. Because I've had a problem just with the way Michael Kay conducts himself for a little while now. I used to be a real big fan of his show. Not that totally matters, but I'm just saying. It starts when, us here, and I'm not saying we're going to be the total trendsetters of this fan base, nowhere near that, in my opinion. Not saying I'm nowhere near that, but we got to get more of an audience, just in my opinion. But we start saying shit, our fans and our followers, our great followers start saying this shit, and then other people try it because, hey, it gets the clicks. I don't believe this shit, but I'm going to type it out because it's for clicks. I'm not saying we're doing that because we tell the fucking truth on here. Our fans believe in us, but other people will come out here, whether they believe it or not, try to echo the same shit because it's all for clout. So my point is, stop with the expected batting average. Stop all that shit. Joey Gallo is the hitter he is. He's not making the adjustments. He's hit one time against a shift this season, and that's something you could manually do. Now, obviously, it may not look this way on camera, but I'm batting lefty. All you got to do is tap it to the left side. Joey Gallo is not Anthony Rizzo. He actually has speed. So he's not making the adjustments. He admits that he's the player he is, and he sucks. He's hitting 121 right now, which looks good to absolutely nobody who has a fucking baseball brain. So that's that. If you want to be positive about this team, be positive about this team. If you want to be negative about this team, just acknowledge both sides, please. Because, what are we, 6-5 right now? That's not really the start the Yankees probably wanted. That's not the start we wanted as fans. And going back to Michael K comment, I will buy what he's selling once he starts saying more of the truth and he's not held up by the Yes Network. Luca.
Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with Joey Gallo. He's pretty much what he is at this point, but I think we have a much bigger, I shouldn't say a much bigger problem, but we have a little bit more problems. We have two problems now that I want to identify. One is the reclamation project of Gleyber Torres.
Can I say something real quick? And we'll go over this after your points because I'm not going to interrupt you. Someone tweeted 44 minutes ago, the Yankees have the best ERA in the American League, 2.48. Now, okay, that's a positive. You can definitely admit that. We can all admit that. But let me say this. Is your ace pitching like an ace? Which we'll get into. No, he's not. So, guy making $36 million a year compared to chump change for Nestor Cortez. I mean, you look at the two results. And Detroit, yeah, they're a little bit better of a team than Baltimore, but they're not too much different. But anyway, you have some points to bring up. I'm not going to interrupt.
Again, we got to bring up the reclamation project to Gleyber Torres, and another point I would bring up was the Garrett Cole thing. So Gleyber Torres, I think he's done. Just the mental, the body language, the at-bats. It's just like, it's so porous. It's like the Yankees have completely turned him into Gary Sanchez. It's almost irreparable. And now what you did again, I hate to bring up the offseason, but it's what you did. The Yankees now, they have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. They also have Gleyber Torres, obviously. Both are trash. Alex, how do you repair shortstop and second base? First of all, second base, in my opinion, is starting LeMahieu every day. You're paying him $15 million a year. Number one. Number two, are you calling up a guy like Oswald Peraza?
You asking me personally?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
What do you have to lose?
Wait, what? You don't have anything to lose. Because what you could do is, okay, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa moves to second base, and he's not even been that good. Like, we're not expecting him to be this 300 hitter with, OPS of this. I don't pay attention to OPS, but the point is that I didn't expect him to be this all-out hitter. I did say that he potentially could be a leadoff guy. Boy, was I fucking wrong. But move Kiner-Falefa to second, and then put Peraza at short. Make him the starting shortstop. He's one of the best fielders, according to scouts in this organization. So you know what? What the fuck do you have to lose? And let me say this. Let me add on to this as well. Tim LeCastro, as of right now, I don't think was sent down. But why not give Florial a shot? Let's take a look for 2 seconds. Now, also as well, we do have to admit that not Florial. What's his face? Peraza has slowed down since his big start. But honestly, once again, what are you losing at this point? Estevan Florial is hitting 258, 2 homers, 4 ribbies, 2 stolen bases, and a total of 8 hits and 31 at-bats. So it's 258. To our standards, he could do better. but also at the same time to baseball standards and the way this game is going, especially in today's day and age, that's actually pretty good. So I would take Florial. Why are we bringing up Tim LaCastro? Why? Florial gives you a sense of power, contact hitting, steals bases. I mean, if we're going to sit here and not make Giancarlo Stanton an everyday outfielder, and if we need to rest Judge or Hicks, and we need that depth utility guy that's not Marwin Gonzalez, why not call Florial up, right? I mean, I'm trying not to echo the Clint Frazier experiment, but you know what? At this point, use what you got. I understand. Yes, LaCastro's really liked well because he came back from this injury. God bless him. But you know what? Florial's been sitting in the minor leagues, and he's been a major factor of why the Rail Riders, at least to my knowledge, have been doing well on offense. I just don't get that at all. But back to your thing, yes, Peraza has slowed down a little bit. I would definitely take him at shortstop, move Kiner Falefa to second. But also, Kiner Falefa hasn't done shit as well, to echo that point once again. And you're not putting Marwin Gonzalez as your everyday second baseman, infielder, whatever the fuck you want to put him.
Yeah, you don't want to turn Estevan Florial into the Clint Frazier project, because for that to happen, you would have to be calling him up, sending him down constantly, just ruining his confidence. But if Florial, I think Florial would fit best as one of our starting outfielders. You know, give him a run of like 10 or 15 games. Sit Gallo for a couple games. Maybe he needs that because he's the one that is really struggling. He's probably one of the worst offensive hitters in all of baseball. You got Hicks in center, Judge in right, and then you also got Estevan Florial in left, in my opinion, of what should happen. Because what do you got to lose? Again, you need better production from left field. That's Joey Gallo's position. He's not playing well.
Can I say this? Because I just learned this, by the way. Because I saw a tweet on Twitter. I'm like, okay. So Kiner Falefa actually went 2 for 3 in the Tigers game, the first game, and he also scored a run. He also had a walk. So, okay, Kiner Falefa is slowly getting better. I need to see more. But then this guy retweets, well, he quote tweets this person saying, Isaiah Kiner Falefa is the first Yankee shortstop with at least 2 hits and 2 steals in a game since Derek Jeter, June 11, 2014. And then this guy quote tweets that. I thought the Yankees Twitter told me that Kiner Falefa was awful. Well, I'm sorry.
Wow,
I'm sorry.
1 game. Wow.
2 games. Let me say this. It's not fucking bad to admit that the guy sucked at the beginning of the year. You're not going to get, slammed on Twitter. And anyone who slams you on Twitter is a complete idiot. So let's stop playing, revisionist history and try to make something. No, Kiner Falefa sucked to start the year.
He still sucks now. He's got to shoot. He's got to prove more consistency.
2 games. Great. Be more consistent.
How about continue the hot run?
Shortstop. We need the offense to produce as a whole, but we need him to be at least what he was expected to be. But I'll let you finish.
People were expecting Kiner Falefa to bat 300.
Yeah, and
I don't.
Are wrong.
I don't think that's happening now. Kiner Falefa's defense did suck at the beginning of the year. It's gotten a little bit better, but I don't know. But getting back to the point of Gleyber Torres, he's at this point a reclamation project. Like, what do? If you're sitting him down every day, you are essentially saying that this project has not worked. Well, that's rather trading him. But Cashman's not going to trade him because he has an ego. And that would be admitting he's wrong. And that would be telling you that he lost the Cubs trade with Aroldis Chapman in it. Now, people will be like, oh, the Yankees won the trade. They got this guy. They got Torres. Didn't they get Billy McKinney?
They did.
Oh, Billy McKinney, Adam Warren,
Rashad Crawford.
Crawford's, I think, gone, right?
Crawford's been gone for a while.
Crawford's been gone. And, Gleyber Torres would probably be the most outstanding piece out of all of those 4 players that we would have gotten this and that. Now, the Cubs essentially won that trade because they won the World Series that year with Aroldis Chapman. But anyways, not the point. For Cashman to admit defeat on Gleyber Torres and how they developed him would essentially be admitting defeat, and that would be a big shot to his ego. Now, sitting Gleyber Torres is definitely what's the word I'm looking for? A subtraction in his confidence. That's the best word I look for right now. It's a complete, shot in his
confidence right now.
There is no confidence. There is no confidence. So you're going to have to do what's best for the baseball team and sit him down. Then you could have Peraza and you could have LeMahieu as your starting infielders. That's ideally what's going to happen. You missed out on Correa. You missed out on Trevor Story. You missed out on Marcus Semien. You missed out on Corey Seager for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Gleyber Torres. Again, I don't want to bring up the offseason, but it is impacting the team right now.
No, I definitely agree with you. There's barely any confidence. I think revisionist history, once again, and I hate this, but you take a look at one of the best times to trade Gleyber Torres and maybe get something. Try spring training. Because he was red hot in spring training. And I understand, not a lot of teams are going to buy. But there will be one stupid team that says, okay, let's try to go after Gleyber Torres. Maybe it's the Rockies or this team or that team, whatever. And it's just been so weird the last few years with Gleyber Torres. I mean, obviously, we know the defensive mishaps at short. That's pretty obvious. Last year was just not very good offensively. I mean, he was not.
It's like Alex. It's like they dead in the ball. Remember, this guy hit 36 home runs in 2019. They dead in the ball, and he got progressively worse. I'm not blaming that. Honestly, I'm not blaming that. But another problem I have with the Yankees organization is that they said last year that Gleyber Torres was not fit to be a shortstop. They go ahead, I think, against the Orioles, the final game. Gleyber Torres is substituted for Kiner-Falefa at shortstop. By the way, how many times has IKF been substituted for in a game?
Honestly,
it's multiple times.
Yeah, that's not a good telling tale.
It's not a good telling tale of who you picked up at shortstop. Anyway, they put Torres at shortstop, moved him there, and then first play Torres makes is an error. Like, have you not seen the signs from last season? Or I would rather have Marwin Gonzalez there. He's better defensively at that position. Why do the Yankees continue to play with this? It's so stupid. It defies any logic. He's done. It's over.
No, I look stupid with my mirroring video, but I'm trying to. Okay, never mind. Keep going.
Gleyber Torres is a reclamation project. He is finished. He's done. Any team who picks up is going to be, we're going to have to take on another contract, and we're going to have to take on, we're going to have to, we're going to have to probably take on another contract.
Okay, so
give up an additional piece.
Okay, here's this. One of the problems Gleyber Torres has had, and he's had this swing his whole MLB career. So I'm actually going to get up and try to show you guys, because guess what? This ain't no podcast about analytics and geek words and all this other bullshit. We're actually going to show you because we played the game of baseball. So we all know that Gleyber Torres has kind of had, and I'm not doing it perfectly, so don't try to rip me. But he's kind of had the swing like this. Like it's not like that, but he's had the bat up here. He's kind of had like this. Once again, not perfect. But as I hit the thing here, it's not too tall. The problem is with Gleyber, what do you notice about every single he hits?
It's off the end of the bat.
It's off the end of the bat. So you got Gleyber. I'm trying to impersonate it as best as possible. But Gleyber, it takes him, because he has the bat up here, and sometimes he has the bat down here when he's trying to come up. And once again, I hit this thing again. But I don't care whether it's a fastball, it's a curveball, whatever it is. As Luca brought up, every hit is off the end of the bat. So it takes him a lot longer to come out into his swing. And once again, where do you see as the main focus of the camera? Right off the barrel. That's not going to give you quality hits. You will hit slap. What did we talk about with Kiner-Falefa when he came here? What was his expectation? Slap, stick, singles. That's what Gleyber has turned into. So I don't understand what Dylan Lawson or this guy or that guy. We have what, hold on, time out. We have fucking what, 3 hitting coaches? It's 2 things. It could be 2 things, definitely. Or it could be both. You have too many cooks in the kitchen, So that happened with the New York Giants, where they had like 1,000 assistants from college, or you have the organizational philosophy of turning these players into terrible hitters, with like what they did with Sanchez and all these other
No, it's
cats
gonna,
that they've
Alex.
developed.
I think you're kind of taking the wrong way there. It's not about turning, turning hitters into terrible, turning these guys into terrible hitters. It's, I guess, focusing on the metric standpoint instead of the actual mechanics. You got to have a launch angle of this. You got to have a barrel percentage
rate
of this.
I can't believe that's a fucking stat. Like, that's unbelievable. And let me say this as well. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you stand aside me because you were there. When Eric Chavez was hired first as one of the Yankees assistant hitting coaches, he talked about analytics. He talked about how batting average is not really something that should matter. Because the Mets, he talks about how everybody's focused on analytics and that batting average should be used. Am I wrong?
That's organizational philosophy right there. That tells you the exact difference between the Mets and the Yankees. Yankees are all or nothing. Mets are, I wouldn't say they're completely like. Now, the Mets actually won both of their games today against the San Francisco Giants. I said on Boys in the Big Apple, this would be a tough series for them. Indeed, they've swept the doubleheader so far. They got 2 more games against the Giants, so good start for the Mets. Remember, what did we watched the Mets game today while they were facing Alex Cobb? What was the difference between the Mets? What's the difference between what you saw there and the Yankees approach? What did you see the Mets do when they had the chance to do it with runners on base?
Put the ball in play.
Timely hitting, putting the ball in play. That's what the Mets are doing.
They were down 4-1, and then I think it was consecutive innings or innings just later on. It was 4-4, and I think they, as you said, they ended up winning the game. Now, tell me, because you probably have it on file, what's Pete Alonso's batting average? And I will make a case with this. What is Pete Alonso's batting average as of right now?
Right at this moment, Pete Alonso's batting average stands at 231. Now I'm going to double check that because MLB.com might be a little more updated. Okay. Just going to get 1 second. Pete Alonso is currently batting 217.
Okay. You know why that's somewhat acceptable? Because it looks like, now I could be fucking dead wrong, their offense has improved, and he leads the National League in RBIs.
Here's an impressive stat, Alex. The Mets are second across baseball in runs scored with 2 outs. What does that show you? That's called timely hitting. Putting the barrel on the ball, slapping it, moving runners over, using the base pass. Francisco Lindor, RBI double. Jeff McNeil, RBI single, I think he had. It was a double, whatever. Timely hitting by their best hitters. Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil, remember how everybody was saying how they're having bad years? I know it's the first couple of games. They had bad years last year. Everybody was concerned about the Francisco Lindor contract. They're off to hot starts this year because they're simplifying their approach at the plate.
There's no changing their approach with the Yankees. I mean, one of our supporters is talking about Josh Donaldson, how he loves his swing. I love Josh Donaldson's swing. But guess what? It gets very fucking irritating when this guy, I'm going to pull up he's hitting 182. He struck out twice in a total of 4 at-bats. He did take a walk.
He is all or nothing.
Yeah. He literally has, now I'm going to try to do this again. Now, I don't want to stand this time, but he literally does this, and everybody knows his swing. But it kind of, it's when he's hitting, and one of our guests brought up a great point with this. It seems like everything's uppercut.
Yeah, that's what they're teaching.
That's
what they're teaching. It's not line drives. It's about exit velocity. It's about exit velocity. It's about launch angle. Now, remember, Alex, it wasn't about uppercut when they were teaching us how to hit. It was line drives.
Line drives. Get the ball into the outfield. Don't chop at it. But
and it's like, I think our guest on Monday, Donald, brought this up. When Gary Sanchez was in the minor leagues, he could hit the ball to all fields. Once he went to the big league, once he went to the big leagues, he was a pull hitter. I'd love to know how much pull percentage the Yankees have right now, if that's even a team stat.
It probably is. If it's not, it's stupid. But listen, Josh Donaldson, and I'm once again I'm sitting down. Uppercut swing. Gleyber Torres, bat behind the head and like this, very long swing. When it comes out, uppercut. Those are pop-ups. Those are little slap dick pop-ups to shortstop. That's why they're under everything. You notice, and
hold on, Alex. Hold on. I'm sorry. They got many of these different metrics. This is actually 2021. Why am I looking at 2021? I'm going to look at 2022.
Yeah.
Because this is baseball savant again, brought to you by. I gotta find their stat cat because I'm trying to look up the pull percentage, for the Yankees. I'm just trying to find the pull percentage. That's what I want to focus on because we brought up the point that these teams. Well, not these teams. The Yankees are asking their hitters to pull the ball a lot more.
Right. And once again, we talk about Gallo. We talk about these other guys. Even Rizzo on occasion. They don't hit against the shift because they're all pulling the ball and they're not justifying. Well, they're not justifying, but they're not simplifying their approach. Was like, okay, well, I don't have to hit a home run this time. I could just tap it, and then the next guy up at the plate can try to get me home. It's simplifying the approach. And once again, to the point that it's somewhat not Aaron Boone's fault, who constructed this roster?
So most of them, all or nothing guys, as we spoke about it.
But the question is, who constructed this roster?
It was Brian Cashman.
Yeah. So while we're into that, though, and I know obviously this is a very different subject, different side of baseball. Man, I mean, I know we didn't watch the game, but Garrett Cole.
Against the Tigers, no less.
I mean,
when is this guy going to get his shit together?
I understand it was snowing at some point, but come on. Let's look at the stat line. 1.2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. Clark Schmidt had 6 strikeouts, and he was dominant. Okay, he had 1 walk, 2 hits, 6 strikeouts, and 3 1/3 innings pitched. Wandy came in, did fine. Same with Holmes, Castro, and Chapman actually had a good game as well after some really rough outings against Baltimore and some of the outings against Toronto. But I understand that, the Yankees have a 2.45 ERA. But this is the guy they're paying $36 million. And this is not anything on Brian Cashman, actually. For once, we're not going to blame him. This is the player that we all expect Garrett Cole to be. $36 million a year. And I understand sometimes it takes, a little bit for everybody to get going and whatnot. But man, obviously, he had a tough outing against the Red Sox. The Blue Jays, I mean, everybody said, he pitched well, he pitched better, but not up to ace form. I would argue this is probably his worst start because you take a look at the stat line, 5 fucking walks. Where's the command? Where's the control? I understand stats tell one side of the story. But man, if they're going to give that much trouble to the Yankees as in the Tigers, where we had to use 5 bullpen arms, and I understand Clark Schmidt was available, 5 bullpen arms. What is our bullpen going to look like when we have to face the better teams? What is our bullpen going to look like when we have to face Toronto after we face, let's see, we got Cleveland after Detroit. Then I believe we have the Orioles again or Kansas City. And then we go into Toronto. We all know what Toronto is. We took 2 of 4, split the series.
And we're going to lose some players because of, what?
The COVID protocols, to put it lightly. But talk about a little bit the Garrett Cole situation, what the reaction is, what's your reaction, and do you really think the bullpen's going to last long?
First of all, I don't think the bullpen's going to last long if Garrett Cole or anybody else keeps having starts like these. It's sad when everybody's going to be like, it's early on in the season whatsoever. This guy is supposed to be your ace. You're paying him $36 million a year. He is supposed to be your ace. And I hate that he's making bullshit excuses for his poor performances. Like last week, when he was basically tipping his cap to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You never do that. You are essentially admitting defeat by doing what you did to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., giving up 2 home runs to his ass.
Here's what he commented on his start versus Detroit. Still going through the evaluation process a bit, but just not on the plate enough, really. Not able to get leverage and keep leverage.
This guy is so full of excuses, it's not even funny. He might be the softest ace in recent Yankee memory. If CC and Roger Clemens would smack him for what he would say, for what Goal is saying right now, still going through the evaluation process. Oh, it was Billy Crystal. Oh, I tip my cap to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. What is this guy thinking? His demeanor in the dugout sucks as well. When the Yankees are when the Yankees are not even scoring runs in the first game, he's all smiling. Should you take charge of this team and be pissed off that your offense is not scoring runs? Like, honestly, like the Yankees shouldn't have won this game tonight by how they scored. They're just getting lucky. The Yankees are getting lucky because their bullpen is phenomenal. That Clark Schmidt did his job. If Clark Schmidt does not do his job, all the blame would be going on him instead of Garrett Cole. Instead of, Schmidt having to clean up Cole's mess. Cole is not playing like someone who you paid $36 million a year and is tasked to be the ace. He had a great start against the Houston Astros last year, as he had that signature start against the Boston Red Sox, the Tampa Bay Rays, or the Toronto Blue Jays. G-Man Choi owns Garrett Cole right now. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. owns Garrett Cole right now. I don't know who owns. Rafael Devers owns the Yankees, really. I can't even say just Cole. But Cole is owned by the Red Sox. These are the teams he's supposed to beat. And these are the teams we're supposed to surpass to hopefully win a division, eventually get to the playoffs, eventually get to the World Series. He's soft. He's not a big game pitcher. I'm sorry. I remember, defending Garrett Cole when it was Jacob. Everybody would come up with the whole battles of Jacob deGrom versus Garrett Cole. It's obviously Jacob deGrom. He can pitch in the big games, although the Mets haven't been to the World Series in how many years, or at least in the playoffs in how many years. But he can beat his divisional opponents. He can beat the best of the best. Max Scherzer can go out there and beat the best of the best. Garrett Cole can't. I'm sorry. He's been a disappointment so far. Last year, we cut him some slack a little bit because the whole spider tack thing. He had a share of great starts, good starts, and bad starts. 2020, there was no fans, no nothing. So you really can't. I don't even evaluate that year for him. It started in 2021, and he is, I'm sorry, not lived up to that ace status. He's not somebody who you act like paid $36 million. I'm sorry, he's not. Anybody who tells me otherwise needs to debate me right now, because you're just settling. How does Nestor Cortez lead the MLB in strikeouts? He's one of the leaders in MLB in strikeouts. Nestor Cortez, who we said on this podcast and on other platforms, this guy is not a long-term starter. He should be best known as a spot starter in case your starters need an extra day of rest. Nestor Cortez should be given the $36 million the way he's pitching. Severino is doing a better job. And we had all these questions about him and his health. Severino's pitched phenomenal. Taillon's done his job, I guess. Jordan Montgomery's been solid, but the offense can't give him run support for some reason. Garrett Cole's the only one starter that's not performing.
Quite the opposite of actually what we expected. We said, Garrett Cole's going to be this guy, but we got so many other questions in the rotation. Thus far, it's kind of flipped on us. So let me just give you some stats real quick. So, and this is maybe before the game. I don't really care. After the game, before the game, same relevance. And this is American League. The Tigers are 14th in batting average. Out of 15 teams, 201. On base percentage, they rank 11th out of 15 teams. Slugging percentage, they rank 13th.
How about
OPS,
runs per game?
Huh?
Runs per game.
That I'll get to in a sec. OPS, which is a great stat that everybody loves, they're 13th. Now, I don't have runs per game on me, but in total runs, guess what, Luca? Let me tell you something. They are 2 runs worse than the Yankees. Yankees are 12th. Tigers are 13th. Hits. Tigers are 14th. Home runs. Tigers are 13th. At bats, even though it's not something too much to take away, even though it can be, 14th. That's not a good offensive team. That's not a team you should be. Okay, let's actually look at this now. Walks. The Tigers are, if ESPN would stop moving, they're 9th in walks, which is just below the Yankees. So they're about mid-tier. Let's see strikeouts. Last one before I say anything. They are 9th in strikeouts. Now, for some reason, ESPN is doing some weird shit where actually the most strikeouts seems to be the best. It's not the case. They rank, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th least strikeouts. So with the combined mixture of those stats, and you could throw in your advanced OPS and all that shit, I don't understand why walking 5 guys, striking out only 3, and you brought it up. To put it best, we didn't get him for $36 million just to pitch good. It's supposed to be against the good teams because that's what an ace is supposed to do. Garrett Cole has not lived up to that hype this year. I know he's, faced the Tigers and then the Blue Jays. Before that was the Red Sox. And I understand, once again, it's the start of the season.
I know
we
Aaron
can be positive,
Boone's,
we can be negative. Just saying that right now.
I know Aaron Boone said that he's not sweating Garrett Cole's start against the Tigers. He said he's also poised for a big year. Now, I thought that, but I think these starts, Alex, these flaky starts against really bad teams, and, these poor starts against average to better teams like the Red Sox and Jays, whatever, are going to come back to bite Cole as to why he's probably not going to win the Cy Young Award. And I said on the NYY news season preview, I said Cole was going to win he was going to win the Cy Young. Not living up to that so far.
Let me say this before we move on. People say, oh, it was the first couple of games. You know what? Same people said that last year, and look where we ended up last year. Because we procrastinated, we got swept by Detroit and all these other, instances that happened. I mean, we all remember that very bad series to start the year against the fucking Rays. It was horrible. Those type of games are the reason why the Yankees were only a wild card team. Because it seemed like they didn't give a shit in the first half. And then when it came, we got to rush to the playoffs. We got to go on a huge winning streak. Well, it didn't mean much because guess what? We got eliminated by the Red Sox.
You forgot that we made the playoffs in the final day of the year. It's not like you made it a week prior.
Yeah, and what? The Blue Jays lost. Isn't that how we got in?
We won, which I think eliminated the Blue Jays, where we won and the Blue Jays lost. So I think it was just the win and get.
The Mariners eliminated too?
Yeah, it was win and get in for us, I believe.
Yeah. So we can move on to some other topics and close out. Will Josh Donaldson wear out of his slumps? Just an easy question. We could talk about something else in just a minute, which is actually a major subject. How confident are you sometime soon that Josh Donaldson wears out of his slumps?
I think he will eventually, but his approach is going to stay the same. He is what he is.
I agree. I agree with you there. And I don't mean to sound boring talk radio, but as Pete should put on a shirt because you've said it so many times on Twinbill, put the nail on the head. Now, let me get into a different conversation. Kyle Yoshioka is known as the personal catcher. Now, people are saying, oh, well, Gary Sanchez is better. Shut the fuck up. Stop about Gary Sanchez. Stop. I'd rather obsess about players that we didn't have and that could have been on this roster rather than players that didn't work out because they didn't try. So let's stop that right now. Pitchers actually want to throw to Kyle Yoshioka whether they're good or not. Nobody wants to throw to Gary Sanchez. It's just facts. Kyle Higashioka is now hitting 103. That is probably worse than his average last year. I think he was hitting in the 170s, 180s. Jose Trevino, I don't know if he was in the last game against the Orioles or whatever, but in the last game, I believe against the Blue Jays, he had 2 RBIs. He had a double and a single. Do you think he should be the starting catcher? And do you think Garrett Cole at this point deserves a personal catcher?
I don't think it makes a difference when it comes to a personal catcher. When it comes to Garrett Cole, he's just
Cole
not
sucked.
Yeah, he's been very underwhelming. I don't think the personal catcher makes a difference whether it makes it better or makes it worse. When it comes to Trevino being the starting catcher, I could see an argument as to why they would share the role. But you know what? You know what this organization likes to do, Alex? If Trevino had a good day on Thursday, he's going to sit Friday. Or if he had a good day Saturday, he's going to sit on Sunday because it's a night-day game.
I mean,
day after night game, as they would call it.
To be honest with you, once again, I have so many problems with this beat media. I know sometimes people are afraid to question the front office because they're not qualified for the position or anything like that. But how do you sit there and tell me, just like Joe Judge once said it, that there's no momentum? That Jose Trevino, let's just say he hits 2 home runs in a game and gets arrested. We've seen that with Hicks this season. We saw that with Judge. So I don't understand, once again, why this beat media is not sitting here and questioning, listen, this guy had a good game here. Why is he not playing? Why is he not playing the next day? But they love to ask what color the sky is. They love to ask certain questions that just don't equate to what this team actually needs to get better at. And I think we're forced in a position now. I'll have you comment because this kind of equates to this. The Yankees have put themselves in a position where they don't have too many candidates, good candidates for leadoff hitters. DJ LeMahieu, I think, should be the leadoff hitter. Most, if not every day. Aaron Hicks, he's hitting what, 345 right now. So keep him there too. Keep riding the hot. That's one of the hot hands they keep riding, and it's actually working out for them. But that's not to say this offense is doing great things. They're not doing great things. But I just don't understand how multiple times, I think it was last series, the series before that, you go, Donaldson hitting first, or this guy hitting first, Rizzo hitting first. And Rizzo hitting first actually was Rizzo Judge. That was a home run tandem, I believe. Or someone else was hitting first, and then it was Rizzo and Judge hitting back-to-back. But just provide your overall thoughts on leadoff hitter candidates and how this lineup is really constructed.
Overall, I think DJ LeMahieu and Aaron Hicks do belong at the top of the lineup. I did see the Yankee lineup today, in which Aaron Hicks, I believe, was batting leadoff, and they threw DJ LeMahieu at 5th in the batting order. I don't see why quite. Maybe it's because they want to balance the power and, balance the left, just balance the power. You have one set of power guys, you have the other set, which is divided by LeMahieu, but overall he belongs at the top of the order.
Yeah, I agree there. Aaron Judge has had a questionable start to many. He struck out 3 times, only had 1 hit against the Tigers. Are you afraid he's putting too much pressure on himself with this whole contract negotiation? Either I need to prove to these guys that, I'm worth this type of money, or is it a situation where that type of negativity and negotiating in bad faith with arbitration and the contract extension pre-opening day, do you think that's getting into his head?
I think it's a combination of both. Obviously, you brought up the bad negotiating and the bad faith, and Brian Cashman coming out with the numbers trying to make Judge look bad. I also think Judge betting on himself, putting that pressure on himself, especially in a big year like this, is not helping. He has not played like himself. Now, I hope he takes the pressure off of him and he starts going off like he's one of the best players in the league, which he is. And I hope he gets that contract extension, but it's the combination of 2 things, as I just mentioned. It's the bad negotiating contract, the bad contract negotiation in bad faith. Then you also got what was I saying? Judge betting on himself. That's what he's essentially doing. He's like, you know what? If I really have a good year this year, there's going to be other teams out there that want me for more.
I agree. So to preview, if I'm not going to spice what I just set up in the multiple words, because that would be wrong. To preview the schedule coming up, the Yankees play Detroit 6:40, Severino, Eduardo Rodriguez, then Tarek Skubal and Montgomery on Thursday for the 1:00 game, then a 3-game set, 7:00 game, and two around one-ish games, 1:05 and 1:35, where it's going to be tie-in against Cal Quantrill. That's Paul Quantrill's son, I believe, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then you got Adam Savale against Nestor Cortez in the game 2. And then game 3, Garrett Cole against, they don't know who they're throwing out yet. This is according to ESPN, so it could fucking change for all we know. Then they have an off day, the 25th. Baltimore at home, Severino and Jordan Lyles, a guy who gave us trouble for some reason. Then 7:05 Wednesday, it's Montgomery and Alexander Wells. There's 2 Wells on that team, so I actually had to look it up. Then Bruce Zimmerman against Tyan, 1:05 p.m. ESPN Plus Thursday. So I don't know why. I guess they don't want to compete that specific day with draft ratings, honestly, which is a good idea.
Is it a night game?
No, it's a day game, 1:05. But where they kick in with the draft ratings-ish is, but then again, it's Apple TV, so I guess they picked a good day for it. Apple TV, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on that Friday, and then Saturday at 7:10, but the draft usually wraps up around 6 because
again, I'm going to be more focused on the drafts, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we'll still check in on the Yankees are playing, but I think that's it for this podcast episode. Luca, final thoughts?
We're just looking at the same team from last year. You know, we had like very few moving pieces. It's hard not to bring up the offseason, but again, we're past that. Nothing has really changed, and it's sad people are coming out here saying, oh, it's, 10 games, it's this and that. Christian from NyynewsTV, I was watching the NyynewsTV podcast, and he's like, you know what? This is really game 173 of 2021. I say this is like, I don't know, 2.5 years continue from 2020. Because again, they started off really hot in 2020, and then they fell. So we'll see what happens. I don't think much will change. I hope it does. Detroit, we should be able to win the series. We should really sweep them, if I have to be honest. But we'll see how the offense does. Nothing's really changed with the offense. I mean, shouts to DJ LeMahieu, Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Hicks, and the ones who are doing their job. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting week.
Yeah, definitely an interesting week ahead. We appreciate you guys as always. Do like, comment, subscribe, buy some of the merch, help us out. June 25th, obviously it's NyynewsTV Day. Very fun day. Whether the Yankees win or lose, get to meet all of you guys. 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts for all the podcasts here. So we appreciate you guys. Obviously, we haven't been on in 3-ish weeks. Gave you our thoughts on the Yankees thus far. We keep it real with you every episode. We don't hide our feelings. We don't call out people unless it's needed because we don't waste our time on twerps. But with that being said, guys, peace out. See you later. Stay cool and have a good night or day. Depends on when you're watching. Peace.
Before it hits the front page,